Peace. What's happening, good people? This gift here for Payusnomind. And today, we're talking about narrative. Because I feel like it is the key thing holding the vast majority of artists back. Like, this is the main thing they struggle with. And when I talk about narrative, what I mean is who you are as an artist. Like, what do people see in you when they see you or when they hear your music? Like, if we think about artists as brands, like if we line up these artists that we know and are familiar with and view them from the standpoint of their branding, we know exactly where they fit. So you think about socially conscious hip hop, and you think about Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Common, all of those artists fit in that box. You think about hustle culture, drug dealers, living a high life, driving fancy cars, making millions of dollars off of moving weight. That's the Jay-Z world. You got the street disciple, right? The street intellectual. That's Nas, dropping knowledge. You got all of these different wheelhouses that these artists fit in. So if somebody is making a movie like Selma about some type of civil rights event, who were they getting for the soundtrack for that movie? They're going to go and they're going to get Talib Kweli. They're going to go and get Common. When they made the movie about Frank Lucas, who did they go get to do the soundtrack to that movie? They went and they got Jay-Z. So it's like artists and narrative is a very, very important thing because that's what fans connect with. They connect with identity. Like you think about school. We go to school and everybody goes to school and manages to find their tribe, right? It's like the cool kids manage to find the other cool kids. The nerds manage to find the other nerds. The outsiders manage to find the other outsiders. And we tend to be able to look at each other and identify and say, okay, well, that's somebody that seems like they would be my kind of person. And with music, people have to be able to do the same. And the artists that I've worked with that have come to me to run campaigns for them and things of that nature, the number one thing I could say that they struggle with is narrative. Because outside of narrative, it's about exposure. You say, okay, well, how do I get my music out there? How do I get it heard? But when you step into the wheelhouse of advertising, you're getting the music heard. You run a Facebook ad. I don't care if it's even a boosted post. A boosted post, your music is getting exposed to listeners and it's being heard. So what it comes down to is how people feel about what they hear. So you have artists that run advertising campaigns on Instagram and Facebook and, do TikTok influencer stuff and all of these things. And they get people listening to the music. Some of those people go to Spotify or whatever have you and stream it, but it don't stick to their ribs. It don't manifest into anything. It don't manifest into fandom. Those artists don't find themselves in a position where they could sell merch or do shows or do anything like that. And they just find themselves in a cycle of starting over where they run a campaign, get some streams. Then when the campaign ends, the streams stop, or trickle down and they have a fraction of what they had while they were advertising. Then they go back to the drawing board and run another campaign and the same thing happens again. And then they just keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that, and they don't really build anything. And the reason why they end up not building anything is narrative. The people who are listening to the music don't see anything in them that makes a profound impact on them where they would really connect with the artist like that and be like, oh, okay, well, this is my person. This person speaks for me, or this person is the type of person that I would like to be and imagine myself to be at some point, because that's the other thing too. People project. And if somebody want to be a ladies' man, they might pretend to be an artist that they envision as a ladies' man. So if a guy is talking about how he gets all of the girls and he's such a fly guy and he's so cool and stuff like that, you could have a nerd that might wear his hat like that guy wears his hat and put on clothes like that guy puts on clothes and pretend to be him in the mirror and envision himself as having all of these girls and different things like that. So people can live vicariously through the artists that they listen to. But people have to be able to identify and get an understanding of who you are. And that is the core thing that holds a lot of artists back. Not just from the standpoint of artists that are getting started and trying to develop themselves and get out there, but also from the artists that experience a degree of success. Like you see a lot of artists that do have a nice number of streaming activity and YouTube views, but they just can't break through. That's often the thing. People don't really see anything in them it's like, well, who is this guy? He made a song. I like the song, but there isn't anything else to connect to beyond that. So it's like I grew up listening to like Mobb Deep and Jay-Z and Nas and R&B music where you had Mary J. Blige and you had all of these artists that we were listening to at that time. So you had Mary J., right? And Mary J. Blige was, oh man, this sad music about heartbreak and no good men that just wouldn't do right by her, right? And she's like, why can't you just love me? Always begging to be loved. And women connected with that. You had a lot of women in the hood that connected with that and bonded with her over that heartache and that pain and that struggle to find love and love of self and all of that different type of stuff. And she was named the queen of R&B, hip hop and R&B soul, because they had her with the hip hop gear and hip hop beats and rappers jumping on her tracks and stuff like that. So she spoke for a certain group of people. And then you had the artists that we listened to, Mobb Deep, these guys, it was world building. And the world building wasn't just in how they dressed. The world building was in the music. You listened to the music and you heard it. So it's like they talked about drinking certain types of alcohol, so they talking about what the Hennessy, right? Prodigy had the Hennessy shirt on in the music video. They talking about E&J. They talking about certain things where we listening to them bringing in new terminologies, done, and all of this different type of stuff that, us in Harlem wasn't privy to. We wasn't using that term. So that was a new term introduced to us. So people come with different things, man. Different terminologies, different dances, different clothing styles, different way to wear clothing. T.I. with the way that he would tip his hat, and have his hat kind of like almost hanging off his head where you wonder how is this hat even still on. You have kids that would be pretending to be T.I. and trying to wear their hat like that in the mirror. So it's like narrative is a really important thing. And with your music and developing yourself, you can't overlook it. So a lot of times artists might reach out and what they want is for a marketer to advertise, to run a campaign on Facebook or YouTube or do playlist pitching or something like that because they want Spotify streams, they want YouTube views, and they think that once they get those things, then fandom comes and touring comes and all of that other stuff. But it starts earlier than that. It starts with you constructing narrative and knowing who you are and what you are trying to present to the world through your music. Like, are you a shy guy? Are you a sex idol? Is that what you're trying to pattern yourself as? Are you a street intellectual dropping knowledge? Are you a gangster? What are you? Who are you? And if you figure that out and you start to work out how you're going to present that to the world through your music, through your images, through your headshots and the photos that you take and the cover artwork that you use to represent your music, then all of the other stuff becomes easier. Advertising becomes easier, marketing becomes easier, building a fan base and a community around your music becomes easier. It all becomes easier once you figure out narrative. Now, as always, y'all can agree to disagree or agree. If y'all want discounts and recommendations that we make on platforms and stuff like that, you should use. There's a link to those things in the description box and on the Pay Us No Mind website. Y'all can hit me up at Pay Us No Mind on Instagram, at Pay Us No Mind on Twitter. This is Gift, signing off. Pay Us No Mind. Peace, good people. One.